Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Dodgebrush podcast. My name is Robin Cho. I'm a concept artist, and I'm joined by
Yeah, Edison Moody. I'm also a concept artist.
yeah. Welcome to the show. Edison's our first guest, and yeah, we are just going to jump right into some potential silliness. But throughout the duration of the show, we're gonna be learning a lot about Edison. So, all right, Edison, just you don't have any control over this, but tell me when to click, and then
I
the
know.
wheel will spin.
Does it matter where you click, or
It
is it
doesn't
probably
matter.
not?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not rigged either.
Okay,
So,
just click. And then can you stop it?
no, it.
No. Okay.
Okay, question two. Okay, what has been your most satisfying piece or project?
Ooh, piece or project. Well, let's see. I'm a concept artist in the game industry specifically. Satisfying projects. I want to say something really um, recognizable. But my satisfying project would just probably be the thing I did on my own that the world will never see. But yeah, I think I did a concept right around Christmas, 2025, and I was just sitting and painting in cafes and listening to audiobooks, and I was just doing what I wanted. It was I had a couple weeks away from work to where I could just kind of like indulge. This piece felt very indulgent, but I did like this big red, just like mech drawing that was kind of inspired by, like 90s Evangelion style aesthetic, but bringing it into a mixture of like more contemporary styles as well. Uh, but yeah, I think that was just fun to just sit and paint. With concept art, I always kind of think about it as like you can build in 3D, you can photo bash, you can work in an engine, you can paint and draw. And it was just nice to kind of like have no restrictions and just sit and draw and paint something from top to bottom. So, yeah.
Is it the one with the robot sort of like crossing the street in the middle of the city?
Yeah, what was I calling those? It's a series of one currently. There is other versions on my computer.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm calling it the Crosswalkers,
This one
and
right
I
here.
just kind of want to, yeah, this one that's on
Okay.
the screen now. Yeah, this is the first one of a series I'm calling Crosswalkers, and that was just like, it actually started with a photo just walking around Bellevue, and I always loved how the sun captures reflections off all the glass around the buildings and kind of reflects onto the ground. And so I wanted to do a piece that kind of went along with that. Uh, but yeah, Crosswalkers, that was a cool one. But I got more coming, but there's a nice shiny blue one coming next.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I really love that piece and that I guess that lighting phenomena that you're talking about. Like, yeah,
Mm,
I love seeing that. I mean, that's one
yeah,
of
like
the
that caustics.
yeah, exactly. It has like sort of a caustic effect. But yeah, it's one of those things that I love seeing whenever I go downtown. You just don't really
Hmm.
get that out here in Redmond. But cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to live out in Redmond, and I move basically every couple years, mostly by choice. Sometimes it's just like, okay, this place has a very fatal flaw. The bedroom is upstairs and the bathroom is downstairs, and I have to get up and go downstairs when I'm tired or something like that. But yeah, I move around quite a bit, um, and I enjoy that because I really get to see the city and see my surroundings from different perspectives. So my art always directly reacts to that. So if I'm living like it somewhere like Redmond, somewhere that's more nature focused, I'll incorporate a lot of that into my work. And then when I'm living somewhere downtown, because I like to walk a lot, um, that always tends to kind of influence my visual library at the time.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's being inspired by your surroundings. I feel like that's more often than not you see that come through in other people's work. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it seems like an obvious thing, but I always feel like to be an effective artist, you got to live like a interesting life too. You can't really just hold up in the studio and just, pump out classics. You kind of have to go through some shit in life, and then, oh, can we cuss on this podcast?
yeah, I think it should be fine.
Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, just gotta go through some stuff. I'll still edit myself anyways.
You're
Still
okay.
gotta go through some stuff and just have something to, add some depth to your vision.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of I haven't done too much traveling, but like in the recent years, I went to Iceland and Switzerland, and I think uh, Switzerland was really eye-opening, but Iceland was extremely eye-opening. Like I couldn't wait to get home to do
Mm,
artwork inspired by like all the Icelandic terrain that I saw. I just had to paint while I was there. But yeah,
yeah.
it was great. Um,
Did you paint while you were there?
yeah, a little bit. I mean, like I haven't really shared anything because I'm not too experienced with like Procreate because I was painting on the iPad. Um,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
but it was still fun to kind of get it out of my system while I was there instead of having to wait until I get back. Um,
Yeah. See, that's why I'm saying like those are often some of the most um, like satisfying projects where you experience the most growth is when you kind of just like working on your own stuff and exploring your own curiosity. And then a lot of times it doesn't really turn out, so you don't share it. That's why I'm like, no, maybe it's the most satisfying stuff is kind of stuff that the world often won't see because it kind of looks bad, but it also allowed me to be comfortable and safe and explore how to visualize this stuff.
yeah, no, I feel like there's a sort of like processing transition that happens, right? It's like, you're kind of like taking in, sort of building your visual library. I think Feng Zhu kind of would say something like that. And
Oh
then
yeah.
and then you would just kind of, even though it's like it's fresh in your head, it doesn't mean that it's ready to yet be used, or maybe it's going to take a couple shots, a couple tries to get it to the point where you're rendering it the way that you remember seeing it.
hmm Man, I still feel like I'm figuring out the fundamentals with some of that. My style changes all the time, and it really just depends on the day and the mood and stuff, and my style can be different.
And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. Like I think that like having a range is actually really helpful because, it kind of makes you it shows that you're not just like a person that would be suitable for a Call of Duty game, or, that
Mm.
you're not being
hmm
pigeonholed into anything. So I think
Mm.
that like, the work that I've seen from you, it's like it's great that you have a range of styles.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna take a little break in the whole getting to know Edison part of this episode, just to kind of introduce the idea of Dodgebrush. So I think that this is sort of my way of giving back to the community. I'm lucky enough to have met like a lot of artists throughout my career. I've been doing this for like 19 years or so. I wish I could just say 20, but I'll be true to the time I've served. Um, but yeah, I think that given just how many layoffs there have been and how many artists there are out there impacted by layoffs or otherwise, um, I just thought like it'd be nice to kind of provide a bit of a platform, even though there's zero subscribers right now. Right now, I think that like I thought that it would be nice to kind of give a platform to artists, especially the ones that might not be as well known as others. I definitely would love to and plan on interviewing people that are sort of more recognizable names. But I think that there's a lot of people out there that are incredibly talented, but it's just due to how many
The
people.
algorithm.
Yeah, the algorithm. Yeah, I mean that it's
Yeah.
kind of based on the luck of the draw and all that. So yeah, I think that I always thought that it's not a matter of fairness, but I thought that like yeah, it'd be great to be able to lift up some voices, put a face to a name or a face to the artwork, and just get to know. someone like Edison a bit more. Um, Over the course of time, there's other uh, things I'm hoping to do to kind of like spice things up on this channel, but maybe we'll talk about that some other time. Um, but yeah, and I think that there's another element to this where it's being able to provide some insight and sort of humanize the artist. I think too often artists, I guess the artwork that you might see from a project, you'll see people react to it in a really knee jerky sort of way. And that kind of leads them into believing like, oh, this artist sucks or whatever. But
Hmm.
anyone that's actually worked on a video game or entertainment industry project with they'll all agree to the idea that some decisions they're not really in our hands to make. Sometimes we're just kind of there's a much more difficult process and many layers to a character being designed or an environment being designed. So hopefully by being able to talk with artists where if they feel comfortable sharing their stories, it'll allow people outside of the sort of art department to be able to understand that like it's a lot more complicated than just the final product. There's so much work and so many conversations that lead to what you might see in a game or movie or what have you. um, but yeah, anything that I could clarify about what this is all about, Edison?
No, I'm excited to hear what some of your other guests has to say and how the show evolves and all that. Yeah, I think it's a cool thing to just provide a platform for other people to just do deep dives into things that excite and inspire them and such.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I hope we'll see how it goes. This is just episode one, but I hope I could line up some more names and have some fun segments kind of in between the release of episodes. But yeah, all right. So Edison, we've already learned a little bit about you so far. Um, this might sound like a very sort of cliche question, but what's your story? How did you get into this? I
Let's
guess.
see. Yeah. Yeah, I think I got into it really it just felt very natural to me. I come from a pretty creative family. It was finding a livable way to get into it was extremely not natural, but that took a long time. But yeah, what made me follow this path was I think just growing up in Iowa, I was pretty bored quite often, and I didn't really relate to a lot of my surroundings just there, and but I loved you know video games and movies. I think the big catalyst for me, like my big beginning era, was like the Dreamcast. I had played, systems before that. Like my first actual system was Sega Genesis, but when it really started to like impact my life and I think impact my personality, was yeah that era, the Dreamcast, just like playing Sonic Adventure and like Power Stone, Tokyo Extreme Racer, um, stuff like that. And let's see. Then I have older cousins that were always into drawing, and I had this one cousin that visited us one time, and he had dreadlocks and cool like rings and jewels in his hair, and he wore ninja boots and like studied martial arts, and I was like, oh
Wow.
hell yeah, like this dude is dope. And we went to the mall one time, and he bought a little dagger with like a cool curved blade, which is so lame, now. But at the time, I was like, wow, I've never been in a store like this, and I still honestly still love looking at all that all that stuff. But yeah, he bought this dagger. I just thought it was so cool. So and he brought also like Bruce Lee movies, and so he was really just on a different level, really, with where I was in Iowa, just kind of like low income area, and yeah, so I just thought he was so cool, and him just getting me into like martial arts and anime. I think I can't remember which anime he had us watch, but it just was kind of, yeah, my third eye opened for sure. We kind of all, I feel like we all need that like kind of angsty, edgy older sibling or cousin or friend that just kind of like opens our eyes to the broader world of our, of what our parents are showing us and exposing us to. Um, so yeah, getting into that, and then knowing that I loved video games, and my older brother, he's into the game industry as well. So we would just kind of like exploring this stuff together, and then I just like making things. I found like I naturally have an urge to create, and creating, fan art is just like a kind of an expression of love for that thing. Sure, you could just sit and watch more Dragon Ball Z episodes, or you can, draw Vegeta for yourself doing, his own cool moves, and that just kind of was like a natural instinct of mine. Though drawing, honestly, the act of drawing, I feel like was not necessarily natural to pick up for me because I might have enjoyed doing it, but I did not really have a lot of like natural ability. I was decent, but like I wasn't even the best person in my elementary school classroom, Like I liked doing it and drawing little cars and stuff, but I was very average. But I just kind of kept doing it, and then finding that I was connecting to other worlds in a way that was like deeper than my present world, right? So I was a little spacey and like socially anxious and introverted because, or not because, but sort of like a vice. I was like kind of escaping into these other worlds, um, and just found that very fulfilling. Like I could create anything, or I could uh, see what other people's could create, and then I would feel inspired by that. So yeah, that just naturally led into doing stuff, concept art for video games. But I mean, I did fine art in college, and I was like, well, maybe I can just be a fine artist and kind of have like this more contemporary gamer and like kind of like younger approach to um, my subject matter as a traditional artist. And then maybe that can fuel into each other, right? And I think eventually I just realized that I did want to do digital art, concept art, follow that whole trend into movies or games, and just focus on creating worlds because I'm like, man, no other time in history has an artist had this much power over the senses, like with the viewer. Artists throughout time have been able to like steal your attention for a moment, and but now we're like incorporating sight and sound, and in a way, even if you have like VR, it's like a full sensory experience, except for taste and smell, which would be,
Just you
I
wait.
mean, yeah, I know, right? I'm like, would I want that? I think taste would be pretty awesome. Smell, I mean, smell is like one of the most powerful things to like trigger memories, right?
Mhm.
So like even when I walk today, like walking along the pier, like I smell the sea and it like triggers an emotional response. So smell would be cool, but I'm just too afraid of smelling shit while I'm like walking through a medieval town in a VR thing.
Can you can you imagine the accessory that you need to hook up to the VR that just like sort of
Oh,
insert into
true.
your nostrils?
Yeah, I mean, people already complain about having to strap like a headset onto you. Can you imagine putting like little things up your nose?
Oh
And
my gosh.
what would it even look like if, like to for taste?
It'd
Like,
be like was it like the football players the little mouth guard?
oh, like a mouth guard? I
Yeah,
could
with
see
it.
that. I would wear a mouth guard.
But imagine yourself like
Either that.
donning the entire thing on, right? You got the
Ooh.
headset, you got the nose plugs,
Yeah,
and
and
then
like
you
little
got
wires go down, go up your nose, and then you put a mouth guard on. Yeah, that'd be sick. That'd be awesome. No, I wouldn't do that at all, actually. I think there was a time where I was like, you know, in the 2010s where I was like, yeah, I'm a futurist, if I got to implant something in my brain to make me more empathetic and to make me like have quicker reflexes, like yeah, I would do it. But now I have a much more natural distrust of like corporations. It's where I'm like, hell no, I would not let anything inject me with, some kind of microchip that will change my being. Um, yeah, when I was younger, I was like, oh yeah, let's try it. Let's do it like Um, let's see what the future of humanity could be. But sorry, that's a tangent.
It's all
This is
good.
this is my thought process while working in art. I'm like what what could be? Let's explore this and expand.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's pretty much my story with art.
All right. So some things that I noted was your Dreamcast your Dreamcast days where you're talking about Sonic Adventure, and I had this one core memory where like I think this was I think like I was at like an EB Games and they had some console set up like a kiosk where you could kind of sample
Mm.
some of the Dreamcasts, and they
Uh-huh.
had like a demo just playing. You know, if no one's been touching the controller for a while, and they had Sonic Adventure, and then they had that one sequence where he's on a pier or something like that, and then there's like a whale
Oh
that goes
yeah.
like that is like
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that was like the first time I saw something sort of like choreographed with a game that like really blew my
Mm.
mind. And you know, it's one
And
of
it
those.
wasn't just a cutscene too. Like you're actually still playing
Yeah,
and it's like kind of guiding you, but it's so smooth that transition. And I remember seeing that scene as a kid and like playing and just like yelling, just being like, "Oh my God, like everything is at stake here and this is incredible," you know.
yeah. It's just like I don't know. There's something about it. It felt cinematic, and back then, like you know, I think a lot of people they go through this where it's just like yeah, you see something from like the PlayStation One, PlayStation Two, Dreamcast days, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like that is the most realistic thing I've ever seen, right? It's like it's not
Mhm.
going to get any better than this. And I think
Yeah.
that in my head when I'm replaying that memory, I'm kind of like I think Little Robin back then was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is like watching a movie." And
Yeah. Uh-huh. The drama. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember the first time me and my brother saw Gran Turismo 3 on a kiosk at Toys R Us, and that was, PS2, and we saw the trailer, and we were just blown away with the cars and the reflections. We're like, can't tell a difference. Is this real? Like we're just like, this is real. It can't get any better than this.
Yeah, I had a moment like that. Like the definitive one was Final Fantasy VIII, when they showed like
Oh,
the ballroom dance scene between Squall and Renoa. Like I was just, I mean, that was a pre-rendered movie in FMV, but
oh,
it
okay.
it still like blew my mind. I was just like, I didn't know we were there yet. And
Yeah.
I remember like grabbing my parents. I was like, doesn't that look photo? Doesn't don't they look like humans? Like,
Parents didn't get it. What was their reaction? Like, yeah, sure, honey.
no, no. I mean, they actually they were in agreement. Like, and
We're into it.
yeah.
That's
So
cool.
I was just like, yeah, let's play Final Fantasy. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, it's
going.
been a journey. Oh, I don't want to glaze over the 7 years I spent bagging groceries and doing part-time jobs and that too. I'm like, that is a very real and valid part of my concept art journey that I don't want to like. And then I decided to be a concept artist, and I got in the industry right away. It's like, hell no. It's like then I was doing part-time jobs, working at board game shops, bagging groceries and stuff for like 7 years, building, I would say, character, but having my own journey, which I has led to me being a more grounded artist and a more grounded person.
Mm.
But yeah, I didn't want to just glance over like, no, this shit was tough for a very long time until I was able to support myself on art.
Yeah, no, I imagine, you know, a lot of people they kind of have that journey. Like I know an artist that I worked with in the past where like I think art wasn't even on her radar, but she kind of built this career of like, you know, working as a banker. But I
Mm,
think that there was probably like some urge in her where she's like, yeah, this is really unfulfilling, or this is, you know,
mm-hmm.
what about like, you know, this artistic side that I'm starting to realize, you know, within. But yeah, no, I think it's good to be able to have like sort of the traditional work experience, especially when we're young, because as you said, it's like it does help build character, and it also kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's going to be a point where you have to, you know, really uh, exercise like yourself in certain ways, such as like, you know, being a teammate, you know, or being able to,
Mm,
you know, work
yeah.
within a deadline, or you know, because I think like when you're at school especially like high school, it's like you're still sort of in that rebellious phase, and the your motivation might vary, right? You might not really care about getting good grades. You might not really care about impressing your parents or whatever. Um, so you kind of have a choice there. But then when it comes to a job, if you're a teenager getting a job, or a young adult getting a job, it's to get money, and all of a sudden that's not
Yeah.
really something you can negotiate with. You want to build your own savings, or earn money to do
Hmm.
things. So yeah, I think that like having that sort of background, hopefully it served you
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I was pretty bitter about it. I was, yeah, not happy. But that's just like I was saying, moving around. You got to live a life that's, you know, where you go through some stuff and then you'll appreciate things more, and it will give you some resilience and some other skills that you wouldn't have developed otherwise. Like if I've known people that jump right into, a six-figure job straight out of college, and I'm just like, man, you kind of like really had the a very nice like rise up through that, and that's, I mean, they earned it because they're really smart and that's why they were able to get there. But I just like appreciate going through that tough time, because then I just know that like if this job doesn't work out, which and this is an era that is tough for a lot of creatives, not just visual artists, but just creatives with writing and all kinds of things. Uh, you know that like you can fall back on other stuff, like you have a history of working on other things and you've done it before, so you can do it again. Um, but yeah, I mean, I definitely wish I could have like just like been this, early 20s jump into the career with a splash. But uh, you know, everyone goes at their own pace, and I think it's good, good lesson to like learn not to compare yourself to that 20-year-old that did jump straight into the industry, start making good money, and working on cool projects. Uh, I kind of like the scrap, I guess.
Yeah, no, and I think that like someone that's like a junior within a game studio, they probably are going through a if they don't have work experience prior to that, it makes me feel a little scared for them, just because all of a sudden you're kind of in this really like, I guess like tense sort of environment, where it's like
Mm.
there's a lot
Hmm.
of, you're kind of, was it like when people are doing jump rope and you have the person, kind of joining in and doing all the jumping, like
Uh-huh.
I don't know a better way to describe it, but it's kind of like, all everything is, there's a pipeline there. There's people that like have been doing their job with a pipeline, and they've been doing it for years, and you're the new person coming in, and if you don't have any experience, and you haven't built up the, I guess, like the professional social skills to be able to,
Mm.
transition in and figure out when's a good time to ask questions, and how much,
Yeah.
I guess, how much of an initiative can make a positive impact. And
Hmm.
so I feel like you can gain those skills at any job, but like if you were able to ascertain those skills earlier on before you join the industry, it'll probably make your transition into the industry, or the first
Yeah.
few steps, a lot smoother.
It's tough. Everything's about social skills, really. It's like, high school. I think K through 12, like you really don't learn much that you can apply to real life beyond social skills. It's like it's like you really are focusing, or that's the biggest thing that I think you can apply to your professional life. I would love if, K through 12 you're learning like things like how to balance a checkbook and how the stocks work and how to garden, and here's how to read a map. I think that would be awesome rather than what they show us otherwise. But yeah, social skills, and then that's the same thing like what you were saying, like the social skills and being able to like apply that into a new workspace, and be humbled a little bit, and know to just kind of like be able to sit back and watch. I mean, and that's going to be different everywhere you go. Some places are so to where there isn't really a safe space to ask a question, and that's just a professional reality. It's like you're gonna get a lot of leaders that are on their little ego trip, and they don't want to hear any questions or have to clarify, and don't create a healthy environment to where you feel like you can be yourself, or that you feel like you can ask questions. I've had that too, and it sucks.
Yeah, and,
But I just try to have that ability to navigate it.
yeah, it's really unfortunate because I think that it's almost like there there's a bit I imagine that there's a bit of an expectation of kind of like, hey, we're going to be working on video games together. We're going to be creating artwork together, and for there to be an instance where, for all the congruency that, is kind of built up, for it to kind of maybe not come out that way, or for things to change,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of disappointing because
Yeah.
I feel like artists, more often than not, we're very much alike. um, and I think that, like, I think we kind of give each other the benefit of the doubt, kind of assuming like, oh yeah, like this person sees me as a peer. I think a lot of artists,
Mm-hmm.
they don't really have much of an ego. So when
Really? You think so? Oh, I
oh
will
re-
push back. I think artists have huge egos.
oh really? Okay, I guess maybe it's
Yeah.
just the ones that I
Yeah.
know.
I mean, it's all about the journey, right? And you have
Yeah.
different lived experiences, but man, I feel like artists have huge egos, especially when you can like be in a field that's competitive like this. Um, yeah, I think ego is a hell of a thing, and I think it shows up differently. It's a little hard to recognize all the time because I think it does have many different ways of showing up. It can show up in form of like, a person being insecure about about something, and then they become like less receptive to feedback,
Mm,
you know.
sure.
Um, yeah, I think artists have few egos. Or big egos. I remember seeing all this in school, and artists are always like coming up with rules. It's not a painting until all the white is covered in a piece,
Mhm.
or like rules about process. And maybe this comes from my fine art background where I'm just like, just get the thing looking cool in the way that you want or your client wants. And there's not really as many rules to it as a lot of artists like to prescribe. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I'll 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 take a step back and I'll say maybe I think you're right in terms of like, there's definitely some ego. Artists do have an ego. I think that maybe the thing that I was trying to phrase is that, like, maybe the sort of like, because some people, they might be sort of like protective of their work or whatever. Like, I feel like
Hmm.
that's less harmful than people that are sort of like, I am standing next to you and I'm so much taller and so much better. Like,
Oh.
I feel like that's sort of like because I guess, like, there's the sort of
Yeah.
like ego where it's like it's not really hurting anyone, and maybe it's something that just needs to be thought out over time. And then there's the ego where it's just kind of like they have developed like too much self-esteem and they value
Uh-huh.
themselves a little too much. Like, I feel like I haven't come across too many artists that are like the latter. Like, I've seen people online that seem to carry themselves that way, but like, I think, in terms of people that I've met and talked with, like, I feel like there
Mm.
there aren't too many. But
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, that's kind of like, yeah, I can see that in a more person to person like studio space. People are often a little more chill. I think it probably been humbled a few times, and if they're in a professional space, they're willing to be good team players and accept feedback and take it on the chin. That's kind of like a skill, uh, all on its own, I would think. And that's something I mean, I still struggle to like look at ArtStation and not just like compare myself to it,
hmm,
and and then want to feel inspired to, try and make something that's that but cooler or something. And I've heard other artists talk about like, yeah, once you can get over that, um, you'll really grow and expand. But there's, I think it's okay to acknowledge a natural competitiveness in people, um, but understand what your value is, you know, understand like what your strengths and weaknesses are, because we'll all have weaknesses. Uh, I think is, you know, a part of it. And like all things balance, like you're never going to get rid of your ego and be able to see an artist do a piece that's in the same genre as yours, and I feel like just not be a little bit like, damn, I wish I would have thought of that, you know. I don't know, is that me or what do you think?
Like, so to sum it up, like when you do look at other people's work on ArtStation, you do are you
I
inspired
think
or
it's
are you
impossible to
compare?
not compare a little bit.
I'm
Both, I think you
like, is the
do both.
comparison sort of like in an unhealthy way? Like, does it like, because I've met people that they're just like they grow depressed, you know, or they feel like they can't do any better, so they just sort of resign
Yeah,
themselves to that like
I
reality.
think that's valid to feel that way.
Yeah.
But that probably means you've been on ArtStation for too long, because you're gonna
Mm.
do something like no one's lived your experience, and if you were to do something similar, it would come out differently. So,
Yeah.
and same as for that person, it seems obvious, but it's like I never would have thought of that thing, you know, that I thought was awesome on ArtStation.
Mhm.
But if I just like kind of focus on myself and like what I pulled from my life and what I found inspiring, it's gonna come out different, and then they're gonna see that and being like, you know, that's cool. I wouldn't have thought of that either. So it's good to get inspired, but I think you can glance at it and be inspired, but then if you start to feel kind of like insecure or competitive, it's probably time to close the browser, go for a walk, and do some art. Like that's at least my remedy.
I think that's absolutely fair. Like for me, it's like there was a moment or two in the past week that like, you know, there was an artist I'm following and I got a notification and I was looking at it and I was like, wow, like that looks really cool. And then I looked a little deeper and I was like, oh, there's some things here that like are kind of similar to what I'm working on. And
Mm,
so I was kind of like, should I be looking at this? Like I think it's not because I think maybe it's just like I don't want to influence my work as much as I can.
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
I think like I can, if I give myself like I think like I haven't been tainted by looking at their work. It's like because it's cool, and I think that like,
Hmm.
and even if I'm only looking at it for like 5 seconds and I'm realizing it's really close to my work, it's like I'm not retaining visual memory of what I saw, but it's just like okay, I'm inspired, but
Hmm.
I don't want to dig too deep on this, or I don't want to like carve too much off
Yeah.
of this, especially because
Yeah.
it's just like it's very similar in
It can
style.
kind of mess you up if you focus too hard on other people's work. I remember even when I was learning, like you mentioned Feng Zhu earlier, you know, I was in that generation that just kind of grew up watching his videos, absorbing every word and trying to paint like him and do everything he did. And then it got to a certain point, it's like, you know, a lot of his videos are sped up, and I would like go to sleep watching his video, and because they're fun to watch, like they're really entertaining, like sped up, and he's making a lot of good progress, and he makes an amazing piece at the end. And even the stuff that's not sped up, like he's still fast. He's pretty prolific. Um, but like, you know, when I was this was when I was early 20s, just out of college, I was trying to paint with that rhythm because I thought that was just how you had to do it, and my stuff was not looking good. Like I was doing this kind of like stream of consciousness, trying to paint quickly and kind of scribbling, and it just was not coming together.
Mhm.
Um, because I don't have that. I wasn't as old as him. I don't have as much like of a visual library, and wasn't as experienced, and it was just kind of messing me up. Um, but then as I started to just make what I found inspiring and then move a little slower, a little more intentional. I was making more decisive movements with my brush and with my art. and my stuff started to come together once I slowed down, stopped trying to like freak out on the board and make stuff super quickly and make 8 of them now, and then they all have to look this certain way. It's like, let me just kind of relax and lean into this. And it's hard not to be competitive because I grew up in a capitalist society, like, and there's only X amount of jobs. You're gonna have to be competitive because it is a competition, unfortunately. Like, it sucks to turn art into a competition, but um, that there's limited resources on the world right now. I love the idea of not being resource limited and all that, but there are limited resources and we haven't figured out how to get beyond that. So there's only a certain amount of spots and you gotta hustle for it.
Yeah, no, that I've found myself giving that sort of advice to, you know, people that are trying to get their foot into the door. Where it's like, yeah, like if you're just really trying to get your foot in the door, and it might not be a dream project, but it's a place that's hiring, like,
Hmm.
yeah, try to cater to them basically, right? It's like, cause and the person that could probably, if it's a Blizzard, for example, you know, if you can really capture that Warcraft style or Diablo art style, it might make you a better candidate. And all of a
Hmm.
sudden, you're there's probably many other people that are thinking, in the same way and doing the same thing, but at that point, it's up to the hiring manager to decide,
Yeah,
like,
it's
who's,
tough.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think, like, honestly, like, for me, it's like, I'm trying to, I guess, like, just given, like, my age, I guess, like, I'm trying to rediscover, like, what kind of stuff made me excited, because I worked
Yeah.
on a lot of different projects in the past, but now I'm sort of like thinking, like, yeah, like, if it's something I do on the side or whatever, like, I want to at least be able to sort of, I guess, allocate a bit of my creative brain space to know that, like, this is a thing that's always going to be fun and stuff that I want to be able to build out,
Hmm.
like, during my personal time or what have you. Um, but
Yeah. What have you what's a takeaway that you've had from that? Just kind of like taking a moment and thinking about just rethinking your approach. What's something that you've gained from it?
I mean, it's awesome. It's just like,
Hmm.
there's like you're creatively free to do whatever, and be able to sort of drill down. Like, I think, like, it's always been really difficult sort of balancing out, like, I guess, like, personal projects with full-time work. So it's like being able to, give myself, like, the time to sort of be more invested in figuring out, like, hey,
Ooh,
that
yeah.
that thing that I've always wanted to do, like, what happens when I'm really focused in on that, and like and I'm not thinking of it in terms of small chunks, I'm thinking of it as a whole. Then
Yeah.
it's sort of like, oh my gosh, okay, then I really need to hunker down. I really need to be super mentally invested, and become a hermit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the time is the big thing. It's like that's when I've worked on my own stuff. I feel like I can actually indulge myself in actually looking up how to do things properly instead of scrambling to like kit bash something in 3D and then not render it perfectly because I'm just trying to pump something out to make a deadline. Giving yourself the time to actually sit and enjoy and be patient with yourself, I think is so underestimated.
All right, we just took a quick break, and we're back, and we're trying to I'm trying to figure out, like, the format of this, and just a little behind the scenes. I'm kind of trying the idea of having the spin wheel sort of be something that's sprinkled throughout the show. So we are going to spin the wheel again, and hopefully we'll come out with a silly question.
Yeah.
Just tell me when to
I'll
click.
pause my Final Fantasy VII Revelation trailer and we could let's do the spinning wheel. I'm ready.
Okay. We'll click on three or one. Three, two, one. Okay,
Okay,
question.
RNG gods.
All
Good
right.
loot drops.
Yeah, man. All right, question five. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a good one.
Uh-oh.
What would you do? What would you be doing if you weren't an artist,
Uh, ooh. If I wasn't an artist,
or if art wasn't an
yeah.
option? Like you thought, like,
If
oh, I
art
can't.
didn't exist.
It's like, oh, I can't make any money painting things.
Uh-huh. Hmm. What would I do? I've thought about that. Uh, I've always liked cars, so, and I think I'm too old to begin my race car training, like to be a driver, race car driver training. So maybe I would just deep dive into like car customization, and modding. Uh, that would be fun. That would be cool. Just open up a garage, uh, have a certain, I guess, so that would still be creative, right? Like it's still building, still creating something. I think I just have that natural instinct to just be like, at the end of the day, be like, hey mom, look, you know. It's like, wow, that's very nice. So yeah, I'd be like, yeah, look at this new K20 I just put in my Honda Civic or something. Yeah, so I would probably do something car related. Let's see. I also feel like I have this internal like martial artist within me. I don't know
Okay.
if that makes sense. Part of me, I remember reading I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about like sibling dynamics, and often the youngest tends to lean into sports and become an athlete, because it was talking about how like the oldest, is usually like um, they tend to lean into academics. The middle child wants to do something different, so then they tend to do, something more on the field or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly. And then the third, if they're the youngest, they tend to lean into sports. And I was like, I feel like I could have seen myself lean into either some kind of sports or yeah, like martial art. I used to do sports. I did sports. And I used to do some martial arts too. And I learned some wushu.
Oh wow.
And oh, what was the school? I went there for a couple years. I haven't thought about it. I think it had some kind of generic name. It was some kind of, I think it was just like Chinese Martial Arts Academy or something
Mm.
in Windsor Heights in Iowa. So if you're there, Sifu, I'm sorry I didn't stick with it, but I think about it all the time. That was probably my true calling. Um, but yeah, that was a really great experience just learning martial arts. And we would play basketball for an hour beforehand to warm up too.
Oh,
They had a
nice.
basketball court before our martial arts session, and we would just it just be a bunch of martial artists out there playing basketball, and it was hilarious.
If you were to do the modding car, having a garage business, like, do you think you'd stay in the area, or do you think you'd go to Japan or LA or somewhere where
We
like
have a
there's
good
a more
scene.
active scene?
We have a good scene here, actually, because there's specific raceways. There's a few different racetracks around that I go to sometimes,
Hmm.
and I know some of the car people. I go on cruises and meetups, car meetups. Um, yeah, where people just kind of like hang out and do less illegal stuff than we used to in the 90s. And now we're all like young dads and just want to hang out and drink beer by the car. Like we're not trying to, street race like we were in when we were in high school. Um, so yeah, I like that. The cruises where we just kind of like ride in a caravan, and especially in this area and the Pacific Northwest, there's just beautiful mountain drives everywhere. Just mountain passes. Shout out to the Sapphire Suns. Um, yeah, that's a cool car community that they just have
Oh,
some.
okay.
Uh, a lot of them drive like import cars from Japan, so they'll be like right side drive
Oh, wow.
and heavily modified and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean that kind of leans into why I got into all the video game and anime stuff, because Initial D was like my Bible back in the day when I was growing up. Initial D, yeah, Tokyo Extreme Racer on the Dreamcast, and that was my jam.
Yeah, you know, you saying all that, it kind of reminds me of one of my buddies. I've known him since high school, and he's like super, especially back then. He was into the whole like import tuner, modding cars and everything like
Yeah.
that. And once uh, he wasn't the only one, but there was like a group of guys at school that they're just like, oh yeah, let's go to this racing event or whatever, and it's illegal street racing, and we had to drive like
Yeah.
hours away from where we lived,
Oh, damn.
and like it was just it felt like such a waste. It felt like such a waste of time
Yeah.
because like when we got there, it was just a lot of people just kind of like just like chilling, and then
Just
eventually
posing. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Posing next to
I
the car.
mean they're socializing, I guess. Like I'm
Like,
sure
so,
there's some value
so
to.
what did you put in this one?
I know they're
Oh,
admiring
man.
each other's cars and all that, right? And like
Yeah.
testing each other's speakers and all that. And then but eventually they did do a race, and like I guess that was kind of exciting, but it's just one of those things where it's like how they film it in movies where it's just like yeah, like we're gonna film the beginning and then we're gonna film the end of the race, so you get to feel like you're in front seat like on both ends of the race.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But when you're in person, you're just there, like if you're there at the starting line, you're not gonna see things at the end, right?
You're just sitting there with a bad view. Yeah.
And you're just seeing the cool looking cars go further and further away from you very quickly.
Yeah.
But then it's like
It's like, who won? I don't know.
exactly, it's like we can't even tell. It's like we have to just take the word of whoever was all the way at the end. But the thing is that like I think they just got one race done, and then all of a sudden the police came, and then we're just like
Yeah. Yeah,
panicking and
that
just
I
finding
would
the way
not drive
home.
hours for that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're actively like going on a cruise, that's more fun because then you don't have to worry about the police as much. I mean, it does attract attention, especially if all of your cars are like loud as hell.
Mm.
Um, but you try to be chill, right? Like you're not trying to like hot dog it around every corner.
Hot
Um,
dog it.
yeah, I don't know if anyone else says that in the world, but it makes
What does
sense
it
to
mean?
me.
What does hot dog it mean?
Just, stepping on the throttle, hit like attack in the corner.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, just going too fast or trying to get some drifts. I grew up in Iowa, right? So like in the winter it would snow, and that was a very fun way to practice drifting at low speed.
Oh my gosh.
We would go out, me and my friends, we would go out just like some random quiet area, and we would just go through the neighborhoods just trying to drift. And I had a little 1980, what was it, 7 Mazda RX-7. So pretty cool car for back then.
Yeah.
But that thing was kind of a bucket. Like it looked cool on the outside, and I had it cleaned up, but on the inside, it was like I would just pray it would start up every time. But I would work on it, try to keep it keep it keep it moving. But it's a cool little car, a little rear wheel drive sports car that had, I mean, it probably only had 150 horsepower in it, so it was not fast, uh, but it looked fast. Uh, but yeah, I would drift that in the snow, and I drove that every day to school, and I'm kind of surprised I survived, honestly.
Well, it sounds like you knew your way around the wheel.
Hmm.
So we talked about sort of your origins and your time in Iowa. Iowa? Iowa?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. And then
Not Idaho or
not
Ohio.
yeah. It's the other I, the
Iowa.
four-letter
Yeah.
state. Uh,
Yeah.
and then you'd mentioned that you went to college. So this was an art school. Is that correct? And
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
and that was in Iowa as well.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't like some prestigious art school. I mean it was literally Iowa State University, but they just have like a separate design
Got it.
college, um, just like building on campus. But yeah, it was cool. Like teachers there were cool. Taught us some good skills. I studied in Rome for a semester.
Oh,
We have a There's actually a palace in Rome that the Iowa State University basically owns, and it's like 400-year-old building. It's so cool. So I lived there for a semester, and you know, just caught the vibe.
that's amazing.
I just had that, and I still think about that all the time. And actually, like projects today, I'm like, oh, I want to design this way because that's something that I noticed in Rome, right? Like there's always stuff that you can Google a place, you can look at, or even Pinterest, even better, and be like, wow, okay, I got a good idea of the place. But going somewhere and experiencing it, there's always something about it that you can take away and be like, wow, I'm surprised I never heard anyone talk about this, or this never came up on a photo. Like you always have some major takeaways where you're just like surprised by. So
Wow.
I like anytime I do something, anytime I do a thing, I'm always glad I did it.
No, no regrets, right?
No, no regrets. No, it's like being someone who like struggles with social anxiety and is an introvert. I want to talk myself out of doing just about everything and just stay in my little bubble and draw pretty pictures. But I picture myself after literally I've done anything, and I'm always like, I'm glad I did it. Like even doing this interview, I was like anxious about it because just public speaking is not a thing that comes naturally to a lot of artists and especially a lot of introverts and stuff. But I'm like, I'm glad. I know I'm gonna be glad that I just did it and had the experience, and I like Robin, so.
Thanks, man.
Uh,
No, thanks for, thanks for, I don't want to say gathering the courage, but I guess thanks for being here. I mean, I think that
no,
this
I think
is
it does take courage. I'm willing to embrace that. Like,
okay.
yeah, totally.
I didn't, I guess I was like reluctant to say it that way just because I don't, I guess it could come off in a different way where it's almost like,
Yeah,
oh, wow, you know, Edison
like
has,
demeaning or something.
yeah, like as if, this is like
Yeah,
way too much for you or whatever. So,
yeah.
um,
I mean, anytime I open my mouth is like, like, should I? Which is maybe how how it should be, but
no, I appreciate the honesty. Um, yeah, so you spending a year in Rome, that's really interesting. I mean, that's I guess like kind of going back to the early part in our conversation of just sort of being influenced by the environment that we're in. I mean, do you,
hmm.
we have your slideshow playing. Like, are there things that you can pinpoint in like some of your images where you're just like, yeah, like that is, I
Hmm.
could draw back to my time in Rome when you look at the tires or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at this image right here, like that's directly from when I used to live in Brooklyn.
Oh,
That the way that, like fruit stands in the grocery stores, the way they had like plastic wrap around fruit stands in the winter to keep things not frozen, and it would kind of expand onto the sidewalk. And, there's street cones and cops on corners and boxes and stacks all around, and everything's kind of piled on top of each other. Um, that's Brooklyn. That's basically just me being like looking at a street corner and thinking, yeah, but what would it look like if there was a hover car in front?
yeah, no, why not?
Yeah, so Brooklyn by far is like one of my favorite places I've ever lived.
And at what point in your life were you living in Brooklyn?
So it was after I had graduated college, came out to Seattle with bright eyes and big expectations, getting in the game industry, going nowhere, um, doing some book covers, like some little freelance stuff, but still I was like working at Whole Foods, uh, you know, doing groceries and board game shops and worked at GameStop for a brief stint, but that was rough. So yeah, I was in Seattle getting nowhere with my career, and then I was like, my partner at the time, she got accepted to a really prestigious art school in New York, in Manhattan. So she was like, "Oh, I really want to go." I was like, "Do it. You should definitely go." And I was like, "I'll go with you because I'm not doing anything here." So I was like, "Yeah, I've never been to New York, never had any interest in going to New York, but what did I have to lose? Like I was 24, 25, hadn't made it any real headway. And my family, my siblings, they were hesitant about me going to New York too, because they were like, I don't know, that like, I mean, we're Iowans, we're Midwesterners, and I don't even think really they had they had briefly been to New York, but it's just a big city, you know, it's intimidating. Um, and it was kind of moving away from the game industry, right? Like that's what I still wanted to do, but going to New York, there's some companies out there, and I did apply to them, but my art just wasn't there yet. But I was like, well, it's like doing this. I'm 24, 25. Like I just need some exposure. I need something different because I was depressed in Seattle. Things were not working, so I went out to New York, sight unseen, moved to Brooklyn, just went with the vibe, went with the flow, and ended up being one of the best decisions ever. And it took a while for me to understand that it was the best decision too, because when I got there, it's not like I had this rebirth and like, wow, you know, this is it, Dad. Um, it was like I tried a couple things. I like renting out studio spaces. I was able to hook up with a community of Black fiction writers, fantasy and sci-fi writers in the East Coast and around New York. And that's how I paid to exist there. I was working full time for the first time as an artist by just being linked up with that group and doing like book cover illustrations, comic books for all their stuff.
Wow.
And that was really energizing because I was actually doing something that I felt like it was meaningful. Um, and that was the first time too, as a black kid, I saw that there were other like black nerds out there, and I was just like walking around my neighborhood because I lived in Flatbush in Brooklyn, and I remember the first day I walked around my neighborhood and I saw like a young black guy with a Dragon Ball Z T-shirt.
I
I
knew it
was
was
like,
gonna be a Dragon Ball
yo,
shirt, man. It's like
yeah,
everyone
I was
wants to
like,
wear
yo,
Dragon
this
Ball
is,
boots.
yep. I was like, this is my people. Like, this is where I've been lacking. And I realized growing up in Iowa, you know, I didn't have exposure to that. And, you know, I might have had like a good black community there, but they just weren't into the same things I was at the time. And I felt like kind of a dweeb, honestly, for being into this stuff. But when I got out to Brooklyn, I was like, oh, this is a black business owner in a black community wearing anime shirts and like blasting, you know, like good music. Like every car that goes by is like blasting good R&B music or hip hop, and I just like, oh yeah, I love that song too. So it was the first time I actually felt like I belonged somewhere. Honestly, it was leaving home. I felt like I was the first time I had to leave home to feel like I belonged somewhere. Yeah, so that's why I love Brooklyn so much, and I still miss it. I would move back if they didn't have like lead in the pipes in some of those pre-war buildings. I'm like paranoid about some of the environmental contamination.
Yikes. No, that's cool, man. I mean, it's I feel like that's kind of like we're talking about it a bit, where it's just sort of pushing yourself outside of your boundaries, right? And
Hmm.
like when I think back to like I guess like my childhood and my high school years and all that, like a lot of I felt like if I stayed in that area, I probably wouldn't have grown too much. It's like I needed that sort of experience of like living outside of where I grew up and kind of exploring and moving around.
Yeah.
Um, so is it how much moving around have you done? Like I mean, so you've had uh, you went from Iowa to Seattle,
To
New
yeah,
York, and
and
then back
then
to Seattle.
to New York, and then back to Seattle. Because
Right.
after being in New York for a while, and my apartment burning down due to an electrical fire, that was not my fault. It was,
Of course,
it
of
was,
course.
yeah, it was in the walls. It was like a wiring thing. The place I was living had been renovated, and the the wiring was not up to code. Like I would see the building manager who did the renovation, and he was like always drinking and just like he was not on top of his game. So when I moved in, there was a case of beer in my fridge, and he's like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot that in there." It's like, so yeah, that should have been my first red flag. But yeah, I mean, I think it's weird to like you say get out of your comfort zone and to experience other things. But in this case, like I went out of my comfort zone and found something more familiar than I had ever experienced before. So that's kind of a cool thing. But yeah, that apartment burned down, or actually didn't. It burned and stayed there. I don't know. It didn't like crumple
It
to the
stayed
ground
burned.
or anything. Yeah. And some of my sketchbooks now, like I lost everything in that fire,
Oh
but I
man.
was able to go back in that night. This was in 2019 with police escort, and that was shocking to see everything you own like dripping wet but also burned, and that was tough. But I still have sketchbooks that smell of smoke and that have like water damage
Oh
because
wow.
I was able to go back in that night with police escort, and the roof had fallen down, and I just tried to gather a couple what I salvage what I could, and luckily my sketchbooks were only lightly damaged. So I just put threw those in a bag. This was in the winter, by the way, and I did not have a coat. And I had two little cats that I grabbed on the way down while the building was on fire and just
Oh
ran
thank God.
down.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I saved the little cats. Yeah, I definitely would not have left them. But I was like, I'm definitely risking my life for these two. And trying to like chase them around the apartment while I was filling with smoke.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was intense. But yeah, so it was cold as hell, and so I once that fire had happened, I was like, well, I don't really have anything here keeping me here. So and then I was thinking, where should I move to next? I was like, I know I want to get back into the industry in a bigger way, and to do that, living somewhere near studios will help. So I was thinking LA. I was like, I think I might go to California or LA somewhere. But my older brother, he had just bought a townhouse that had a spare bedroom, and I'm like, okay, so this is great. Maybe I can just kick it with him for a few months till I can just like get back on my feet because I was homeless in New York. Every night I didn't know where I was gonna be staying. Um, and because insurance, like you would think fires, it's unfortunate, but they happen, and you would think insurance would be like there to have your back, and you know it would be a somewhat smooth process. But no, it was awful, and I had to like get proof that the fire happened from the fire marshal, which took a few days to even get my insurance to cover anything. And thank God I had insurance because a lot of my neighbors didn't, so they had to stay in shelters
Oh my gosh.
in New York. And New York, like New York City shelters, are not a good place to be. There's not, at least the ones that were available to us at the time. So every morning I was waking up just like on a different friend's couch, trying to figure out where I'm gonna stay on the phone with whoever, just going to different offices around the city, trying to just like document proof, and then using the computer at the library to like contact people and stuff like that. So I didn't. This was still in the winter and freeze my butt off. A friend gave me a coat, thankfully. So yeah, I was just kind of like doing that for a couple months, and eventually insurance did kick in to where they were able to get me a hotel for some nights, and then I like started subleasing a place once that insurance money was kicking in. So thankfully, again, like that kicked in, and then my sister started a GoFundMe that was able to keep me off the street until insurance kicked in and help restart my life. So that was amazing. But yeah, in the meantime, I was like, okay, let me go to Seattle while my brother is he's got a spare bedroom. I'll just stay there for a few months and I'll figure out my next move. And then so I came to Seattle, hung out with my bro. Then the pandemic happened when I was figuring out my move, and so then I got stuck here, and now I'm still here.
You've been stuck here for what, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah, I'm still here. Well, I ended up, getting a good job here with Microsoft, doing like experimental VR stuff,
Cool.
and then yeah, then I became rooted here because of that.
Uh, I've done a bit of a stint at a VR studio before. Like, did you? I don't know about you, but did you pretty much have the headset like at least resting on your head like through most
Mm.
of the day? Yeah.
Yeah, I like. I like VR because me and my family, like, we're all spread out. We're all creatives, me and my siblings, and we're all like in different areas. So VR during the pandemic, we started mini golfing, and so yeah, we just started gaming together, and it was a way for us to stay closer to each other in a way that feels more real than a phone call.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of a natural progression, and I like building. I used VR a lot in my concept art process, whether it's like Gravity Sketch or Oculus Medium, which I don't really use anymore, but I have made a bunch of stuff in Oculus Medium, very quick scopes. So yeah, I'm like cool with VR, and I build. So it was pretty natural. I think that was why I got that job because I was like, I had, well, I was well versed in VR. That shot too, that's on the page. That's also like a very New York infused shot, just like riding in cabs and stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, VR is cool.
Yeah.
It'll come back. It still hasn't had its moment.
I hope it does have its moment because like I enjoy using VR, but I think it's just like it's uncomfortable or there's room to improve in terms of like the ergonomics and comfortability of it. I've never tried the
Totally.
Apple Vision Pro. I heard that that's like pretty. It's a big improvement in
Yeah.
terms of like.
We had one around my studio too, and I kind of were kicking myself for not trying it, but I think yeah, I think I was kind of, yeah, unsure. The dialogue, the conversation, the online conversation around, they were like kind of making fun of the Apple Vision Pro a lot. So, but I heard it was high quality, and we
Yeah.
had one around the studio. I don't know why I didn't try it.
Well, now you could get them for like half off on
Oh,
eBay.
can you?
I
What
think
what were
so.
they?
Yeah.
Were they like 900 bucks or something like that,
Oh
or
no,
were
they
they
were
even
like
more than
four
that?
thousand, I think, or 3,500.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
So they're still
I should
pricey,
have tried
even
it.
though they're secondhand units. But
I'm still rocking my Oculus Quest 2. It's having a little bit of issues now, and I've replaced some things on it, but I'm still rocking that. I want to get Valve's new headset,
oh yeah, the
um, but
Steam's
it's
so
not out
big.
yet. Yeah, I'm excited to not give money to Meta, so I want to use Valve's headset.
Oh, that's cool. Before you actually started your career, like, there was probably like to some degree sort of fantasizing what it might be like. How does how does like what you were hoping it'd be like compared to how it actually is?
The industry.
Yeah, or I mean,
Um,
I guess or just being a concept artist, a
mm,
commercial artist.
yeah. Let's see. How has it held up to my expectations? Honestly, I don't know if I really had that many expectations. I was always project driven. I always just wanted to make cool stuff. Um, some people picture their life, their future, and like, oh, I picture myself with a gold watch and driving a cool car and listening to reggae music or something. I don't know what those three things are. But I was always just project driven. Like I always just wanted to work on cool projects. Um, and how that has held up, I think I've struggled more than I expected. So I thought I would be able to just like come in and shake things up and, land, get lucky and like land a really cool job. But instead of, kind of going through the journey that I have to be at a place now where I'm living comfortably, and doing art all day. I still think it's a privilege to be able to just live and do art all day and then not have to clock in at, some other part-time thing. That novelty still hasn't worn off. And I've, been doing that now for, you know, many years. Um, Full time for like I think I've been full time for about 10 years now. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, expectations. It's like yeah, I it's tough. I think create the battle of creativity is probably my biggest takeaway. I think you get a lot of people that are kind of distracted by a lot of other things in life, and which is understandable because we live in a very overstimulating society. that has not been structured in a way that allows people to thrive, and in a way that's like just overstimulation. Like we're so busy and overstimulated and things. I think it really makes it hard for a lot of people to be creative, maintain their creativity. So pushing against just like kind of going in coast cruise control mode, is something that I've had to be intentional about, like keeping myself inspired, which thankfully I've never really had a hard time with, because if I can make myself inspired. Like if I had a draining day, I can come home and like look at art books, or play a game, like try and find a new game to play, and that'll instantly like it's like taking a cup of coffee. But yeah, finding those like vices and taking care of your health. This job is hard on the body. Any job where you sit at a computer, um, working as many hours as we do is going to take its toll. And you would think, doing art is safer and easier on the body than doing sports, but man, sitting in one place, whew, that not it's cutting off blood flow. Like you're not getting any blood flow. You got to exercise. You got to move. Um, Otherwise, your body just like I have repetitive stress injuries in both hands. Like I had to take a year off in 20, actually in 2020, I had to take a year off of doing any work because I just overworked my hands.
Hmm.
Um, and that was intense. But thankfully or fortunately, like that was during the world kind of doing a whole pause and reckoning with like, okay, what are we going to do with the pandemic and how are we going to all survive? So I was able to kind of time that out to where I needed to take a break anyways, just because I was going to physical therapy and just overworking my hands from just doing so much. And I think once the world shut down too, I had stopped being as active as I was before because it was like, shelter in place. And that was, I think, a big part of also what led to me overworking the tendons in my hands. But I'm happy to report now that my hands are better than ever and stronger than ever because and that's like pretty recent. I've been in and out of physical therapy for years, doing yoga, working out, wearing splints, using KT tape, wrapping up during work for an 8-hour shift to get something, finished. Like you really got to take care of your body. And that's something I try to be pretty outspoken about because no one talked about it in art school, no one talked about it at work. But and then once I did, I was like, yeah. Once I did start talking about the struggles I've had like with physical health in this job, everyone else in my studio was like, oh yeah, I've had back surgery,
Oh
due
boy.
to this thing, just like standing. And it's like, oh yeah, I have carpal tunnel. Or I've had injections in my wrists
Oh
to,
wow.
like cortisol injections, or they've been to physical therapy. Like the majority of people aren't artists in the game industry have some kind of like physical thing that they're battling against like an athlete, and that's something that just people don't really talk about much. Is that something that you've experienced at all, Robin?
Yeah, I mean, like I've had instances where like I need to wear sort of like, for lack of a better term, like a wrist guard or something like that, just to kind of like
Mm,
support like this part of my wrist a bit better. It comes
yeah.
and goes, but like uh I think for me it's like the mental health is the thing that like has probably been like the most
Oh, okay.
difficult, just
Hmm.
because like when we were talking about egos earlier, I think like maybe I was trying to say that like I feel like, once again, it's not a universal thing, but like I think artists, they tend to be pretty humble about their work. But I think that there's like a very like, sometimes there's a bit of a mix up in terms of if someone's being humble or if someone just really uh, they don't see any talent in themselves. Like they're just kind of like,
Mm.
they don't see progress being made, or they don't see themselves getting like to a point of being good enough, like whatever that means. So I think that it's like, there's been like chapters in my life where it's like I've had to, I struggled a bit with that, or just kind of feeling like I'm, you know, behind in terms of like my developmental skills in terms of, oh, like, 3D, or I don't do enough photo bashing back when photo bashing used to be
Ah,
done.
is it because you're comparing yourself to people
Probably,
online?
yeah, yeah. I
See,
mean,
that's what I was trying to say
I,
earlier.
I feel like maybe there's like this like
Yeah.
unspoken quota or expectation of like, yeah, like now that you see people using this tool, that's something that you should probably, you know, jump into. And
Yeah.
sometimes, like, I mean, I don't think that's necessarily, or I don't think that's always a bad thing, because, growing as an artist, I think is extremely important. Let's say, like, if someone that has been doing things just purely in Photoshop, if they are coming to a realization that, like, yeah, like, to be able to complete this task, it'd be much more helpful to learn 3D, then yeah, like, they should jump into 3D. But if you're doing book covers for a living, then maybe it's not
Uh-huh.
that necessary. You could just kind of do your
Yeah.
thing, and you don't have to worry about all your colleagues, jumping into Blender, or, uh,
Hmm.
whatever software tool there is out there. But yeah, I guess being comfortable
Yeah.
with who you
Yeah.
are, maybe that's kind of what it boils down to.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff is always tough. That's why I hesitate. I always hesitate if like someone's asked me for advice with stuff. It's like all I can do is just kind of like tell you my experience and then just give you a shrug. Like, no, I mean, I love what I do and I wouldn't want to do anything else. You have to stay adaptive and try and not be delusional. Like you want to have confidence in yourself and be able to tell when someone is giving you feedback that can be super helpful and be able to accept that with grace. Surround yourself with people who are talented and that you really respect, and then you'll always come around people that like just aren't going to see your greatness no matter how much you try. I'm going through that currently. It's like in my professional sense is like, they have a different lived experience to me and they're never going to see and connect with what I'm doing. And you just kind of have to be able to recognize that and be okay with it because, yeah, like you might not always get your flowers like you feel like you're capable of, or you might not be where you think you are. But, maybe try a different approach. Try not to become stagnant. And yeah, just don't expect everyone to be able to see your potential and be able to appreciate your work because I think that's just unfortunately it's like an unrealistic expectation. Like I like my work, sometimes and I see ways for it to improve and it's hard to find time to work on it, but uh, try not to just really try not to compare yourself to someone else because your stuff is unique because your lived experience is unique and try not to be delusional at the same time like I said because that's where like surrounding yourself with other talented people that you respect their opinion comes into play. Yeah, it's tough, but yeah, not everyone's gonna see your potential and your greatness.
Yeah, and I think that there's also, something that could kind of splinter, or I guess grow from that, is just sort of like in terms of how you manage your time, because I think that, like, and I know I'm not the only one, but like, there's definitely like a point in my life, in my career, where I was just like at a job, and I would work hours that were just not good for me, and
Yeah,
it's like this obsessive, or I guess like being obsessed with the idea that, like, I can impress. I can impress based off of like how many hours I work, or my piece will get
right.
better
Yeah.
if I spend more time on it, but that's obviously not always
Mm.
the case. I think it's like so
Yeah, I
easy to
was
frame
curious
it
like
that
how
way.
that went.
Yeah, it's like it.
Were they able to recognize your extra effort
No,
that you were putting
no,
in?
because it's like when
Yeah,
I'm
that's
in
what I'm
office
saying.
from
Yeah.
like 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. It's like no one's there to see it, and I'm not the type to
Hmm.
be like, hey, look at all these hours that I put in. But
Uh-huh.
it's
It's like you hope that they'll recognize the amount of work that you're putting out or the amount
yeah,
of care that you're putting into it, but that's tough because yeah, not everyone's gonna be able to recognize that.
yeah. But thankfully, that's something that, like, I don't dwell too much on that, just because it happened very early in my career, and it's like I feel like
Hmm.
it's probably something a lot of people go through. Um, but it is one of those things where it's just like, yeah, I was prioritizing impressing someone over like taking care
Hmm.
of myself. And, you
I
know,
mean, that's natural. You know, you're gonna want to get the promotion. You want to make advancements in the career. I think it's okay to want to impress people, right? Is that okay?
no, I
What
mean,
do you
like,
think?
I think it's like, you know, everyone has a different idea of what quality is, right? In terms of like,
Hmm.
it's just like the whole art is subjective, right? Um, but I think that, you know, um, it's about striking a balance, right? It's like you want to be able, if you're a family man or woman and, you've got kids to take care of, pets to take care of, whatever.
Hmm.
You want to be able to make sure that like your job doesn't impede on any of that because, what would be really lovely is that like you have the support of your employer to be able to take care of your life, your family, whatever.
Hmm.
But I think that once again, it's like I don't dwell too much on what happened in the past, like that one instance, because yeah, I was in my early 20s. It's like I think like the younger you are, you probably want to you have this you're probably more compelled to uh, sort of prove yourself, especially if it's like your first job or second job. It's like
Hmm.
you want to be able to prove to yourself and others that like you're deserving of this. And I'm sure like insecurities probably lead to people making the same sort of like judgment calls of just like, yeah, I'm gonna put more hours into this because Joe Schmo next to me is like, I saw what he did and it's amazing and I need to be able to get up to
Yeah.
that level. But I think that like people should also trust that like, hey, you got hired here. You've already made a strong impression, and maybe trust in the fact that like, you know, you don't really need to do too much proving because you've already gone through that sort of
Mm.
that phase. Um,
Yeah, that's a good point.
but it's hard like because it's just like you never know, right? It's like I've seen weird things happen at different companies, and it's like
Yeah.
one day they love you and next day they don't, so it's like
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
happens.
it really depends on the company culture or like studio culture of where you're at.
Yeah, it's like you could be the most pleasant person in the world and something some element is going to influence like people to treat you differently, and that unfortunately it's not just happened to me but it's happened to others as well. So
Hmm.
this is kind of a point where we've talked about games a lot, and I've worked with some people who they are in the industry, and they come to the realization that like, oh yeah, like maybe you're obviously a very talented artist. Like, are you the type that just kind of like doesn't really play games but you like working on games like as sort of as a concept artist, or do
Yeah.
you kind of live in both spaces where you love them both?
That is something that has surprised me with working this field is like how many people don't actually engage with it as a consumer. And I just kind of assumed we'd all be fans, but that's not necessarily the case. Yeah, I'm a fan of the industry. I've listened to podcasts constantly uh, of different video games, and that's how I stay educated. I'm a concept artist, but I love the whole medium uh, in its holistic sense, and just like and where it has been and where it could go. Um, can I say other podcast names?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, okay, cool. MinnMax, that's actually something that Robin and I are both fans of, and we relate. Like, we love MinnMax. I listen to them every day. Group of good journalists in Minnesota mostly, and they inform me. And I can't, honestly, the interesting thing is I can't play a lot of games because of my hands, like just using my hands too much. I basically have to be very intentional about which ones I play because I don't want to overuse my hands again. Um, because I'm making games with them for 10 hours a day. so I have to be careful about overusing them with gaming. But so I listen to a lot of journalists talk about games, and I watch a lot of gameplay videos, like playthroughs. And then in the ones that really look interesting to me, like the top 10% of this, what's up my alley, I play as opposed to just like freely following my whimsy, with different games. Um, but yeah, I love playing video games and thinking about them constantly to an annoying extent. I'm always trying to yeah, tell people that don't care at all about a cool new thing that's out and why I'm excited about it. Yeah, it's mostly what I think about. Yeah, and when I'm feeling like burned out or less inspired, I can play an old Final Fantasy game or just like do research about it and its development and things like that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Like I can relate to a lot of that. Like I even when I was a kid, like my parents, the only console that they got me and my brother was like a Nintendo, NES, and
Okay.
we only had like 2 or 3 games on it. And they just got to a point where they're just like, you guys are too old for this. And this is when I was like 7.
Oh yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah. Oh man,
so it's
that's
like,
tough.
you know, it was tricky, but what can you do about it? But
But
like I
hey,
would,
you made a career and a living out of it,
I mean,
so
yeah, now they're regretting their words, um
uh-huh.
but yeah, back then it's like I would subscribe to Nintendo Power. They'd at least allow me that, where it's like I
Mm.
had a
Mm-hmm.
a subscription to that magazine for a long, long time. And when I would tell them like, oh, can I get a subscription to like GamePro and EGM? It's like they're like, no, you just get this one. So I would just go to the library and I would
Yeah.
just spend so much time at the library just reading like those other
Oh yeah.
magazines. So it's
Yeah.
like,
I would do that at like Walmart or Target, look through the magazines and find the gaming ones and yeah, like Game Informer and stuff like that was a big one for me. Yeah, EGM, totally.
yeah, and it's like it's just one of those things where it's like I didn't get to play too many games when I was a kid, but then it's like when I was kind of on my own and just like making money and all that. That's when I really started like
Okay.
diving deep, and then it's like it's cool to be excited for I guess like being an artist working on games, but at the same time having a passion for games. It's like I think it's not
Mm-hmm.
only like fun, but it also kind of your what you experience while playing a game kind of helps inform, like there's a lot of insight that you could gather from it, and like
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of ideas that you can sort of like help bring into your own projects or the projects that you're working on
Yeah.
at your job. um so yeah, it's
I
like
think you have to be a fan of the medium. Like, you know, no matter what it is, if you're a writer, I think it's crucial to just be a fan of books. Just read a lot. Like if you want to, same with gaming. Like if you're in the industry and you want to actually make design decisions that impact the game, just like being a fan of the medium, being a student of the medium as well, just will really inform your decision making. And I think you can tell when you see someone that's like, oh, they make games, but they probably don't really play other games because they kind of miss a lot of like quality of life things that we solved a decade ago, but they'll include it in their new game. Like, oh, why is this in this game? We've kind of like moved beyond this type of thing. That totally happens. On the parent note, I feel like I was very lucky to where my parents never really gave me that feeling, and were pretty. They were very just just like good cheerleaders and things like that in terms of me following my interest, my passion, and getting into games and whatever it was that I was in art. So yeah, I feel like really privileged in that way because they always kind of had my back and supported me. Uh, so yeah.
oh, that's awesome, and they must be proud of you for what you do now, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's pretty. Yeah, we didn't, struggled in other ways growing up, like the Dreamcast, we had to borrow money to get the Dreamcast and things, but the older I get, the more I'm like, damn, I had pretty amazing parents. So, and
Aw.
in the ways that I've seen like that, their support give me confidence to be able to just like be my authentic self. Uh, I think as I get older, I understand it more.
That's sweet. Yeah, no, I think that's what you would hope for, right? And I think that
Hmm.
like being able to sort of be on the same page, or at least sort of be supportive of what
Hmm.
your kid does and all that, and you know to give some credit to my parents. They know a thing or two about the game industry now. And like, what was it? Like my mom, she was saying something the other day. I was just telling her about stuff that I was working on, and she said something to the. It's like, I don't understand what you're talking about, but I hope you're having fun. Something like that. So I was
Yeah,
like, okay,
that's
that's enough for
yeah,
me.
that's her way of showing support and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, my dad, he would come downstairs, and if Isaac, my older brother, was playing something, my dad would be like, "Are you letting your little brother play?" So he was kind of the other way, like you need to make sure he's included, make sure he's playing. And I'd just
Oh
be sitting there watching. And it'd be like KOTOR or something, like Knights of the Old Republic. Like, oh, Dad, this is like an RPG. It's not really the kind of thing you just play against each other. And he doesn't really understand, that it's something where you're not just like an arcade competing against each other. Like this is a story driven thing where your decisions matter. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, no, I'm cool watching. I still love watching games. So
Yeah, it's funny. Like I remember when you were talking about your dad, and being involved with you and your brother playing KOTOR. Like it reminds me of this one time where like this was like a really rare exception, but like me, I don't know about my brother, but I was definitely into the Mortal Kombat series growing up, and Mortal Kombat 3 it was coming out on the PC, and so like they got me Mortal Kombat 3 for PC like for my birthday or something like that. And then like I was
Hmm.
playing it with my brother after dinner once, and then like we were playing it on my dad's computer, which was in his office, and then like he came in, and I think he was just waiting for us to finish up, and then like
Oh God.
I was like, it's like they knew what Mortal Kombat was at this point and all that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like, but and they
Okay.
didn't seem concerned. I guess they could tell it wasn't real and it wasn't
It was the
leading.
90s, right? Like where
So
everything
like
was grungy and
yeah,
just
they're
the
just
thing.
like, hey, this is probably better than them doing crazier things. But like I
Hmm.
was like, Dad, do you want to play? And then like he's like, sure. And then so I sort of like tutorialized and kind of told him like press this, press that, blah 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 blah. And he was having a good time. Like the few times in
Mm.
which I've had my parents play games, it's like you could tell that they're getting it, they like it. But then
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
eventually they're like, okay, that's enough for me, and then they just walk away.
Yeah. Maybe they're just yeah, what is that? Because that is a very like common experience. Do you think they're just like it's just a fun little novelty, or because I have had similar experiences, and I've played games with my dad every now and then, but we played like NFL 2K2. We got into that, and that was like a sports thing that we could share. Um, but yeah, I wonder if they just remember that they're an adult and they don't have time to play with toys, or
I would
maybe
say
that's something that millennials like missed or something. Because I didn't grow out of any of my interests. Like I'm still the same person I was when I was 12 years old and younger. Still think all the same stuff is just as cool.
I was thinking it might have been that like they're just kind of like, oh yeah, like I'm an adult. What am I doing?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that like a a good few of my friends who are parents, they are introducing their kids to video games,
Yeah.
and like and it's a way for them to bond, and like I
Hmm.
think that like once again, no shade to my parents or anything like that, but it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, like I know you don't live in my world, but wouldn't it be nice if we kind of had like some sort of shared interest,
Yeah.
to be able to talk about and everything. And I think that like traditionally it usually is sports, but I'm just like the most inathletic person there is. So,
Oh.
uh,
That's funny.
you had mentioned Final Fantasy, so like you, you're pretty familiar with those games. I'm a big fan of those games. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Yoshitaka Amano. He's yeah, just never ceases to just like empower me with art mana. Uh, just seeing his illustrations. I have a book of his called The Sky. It's actually like a catalog of his books, and that is just like if there was another fire, that would be one of the things that I grab. Uh,
And the cats,
it's
right?
maybe dark. Oh yeah, yeah. It's maybe dark to think in those terms. But yeah, that would be one of the things that I grab on the way out. I might leave my coat behind, but I'll grab that just because his work is just so cool. And my work, I don't even wouldn't even say that my work looks like his necessarily, but I still can feel myself, just gaining energy from it and being inspired. And so he did a lot of the character design for people, if they don't know, for a lot of the early Final Fantasies and stuff like that. That often got reduced down to like 16-bit sprites and
Yeah.
that like you kind of got it. But yeah, Final Fantasy. And actually, let's see. Well, I kind of got into it late, like around high school when had money to start buying my own games. Because I bought a PS2 in like 2008 or 9 or something. Um, so it was like a little late, and I just kind of did my homework once I had done it. Like I went back, played. I think one of the first games I played was Final Fantasy XII, actually, which is a weird starting place because they were shaking up the formula a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but the aesthetic and the world building in there was just incredible. So yeah, what was your first Final Fantasy that hooked you?
So when I was growing up, like there was a guy at church who he had a Super NES, and like me and my brother, we would go to his house, and he would be chipping away at like I think it was Final Fantasy VI, and so
Hmm.
it was fun watching him play, but I only got fragments of it. But it looked really cool. But like I guess like the first Final Fantasy that I played was Final Fantasy VII, and so
Okay.
uh, yeah, that one made quite the impression on me. Like you talk about Amano. I love his work too, and I think it's totally natural for like sort of our art heroes to not really sort of like obviously show up in our own work. It's like and I don't know what the science behind that is. It's really weird
Mm-hmm.
because like a lot of my artists that like I love very dearly, it's like yeah, you wouldn't think you'd be surprised to hear like because it's just not obvious. It's like you don't see
Mm-hmm.
uh, the influence as clearly as you would think. But Tetsuya Nomura's designs for Fantasy VII, it's like they still hold up to this day. I mean, like, and I
Mm-hmm.
guess that comes through in like the more recent remake games because it's just like yeah, like I mean, how they captured like even Cloud's eyes and like how he emotes and like
Yeah.
obviously the silhouette. It's like all that is still there. I mean, obviously some of it's like a
It's
bit
so
more.
iconic.
Yeah, and it's
I
like
love how bold it like translates to even the remake. It's even the remake, you're like, wow, there's really something to only having like 12 polygons and then designing a recognizable character with that because you see it and you instantly know who he is. Like people that aren't even Final Fantasy fans can be like, "Oh, that's Cloud," or like, "Oh yeah, that's that one big sword guy." And it's like it sticks with you. I think the design is iconic.
yeah, and they long before I mean this game came out like before Team Fortress 2, which I felt like was like the first game that really like put it on Main Street that like yeah, like for every character make sure they have a very different silhouette. And
Mm,
I feel like if you did the lineup of all uh the party members in Final Fantasy 7, it's like yeah, every one of them looks distinct from each other. It's like I think that they did Tetsuya Nomura, to his credit, I'm not too crazy about some of his like more recent designs, but I think that like what he did for like 7 and 8, like they're all like really
oh
really
yeah.
amazing work.
Is that what you think is like the best aesthetic, 7 or 8, or which do you think is the best art style?
Probably 12 actually. Like yeah,
Ooh,
12
hot
hit
take.
yeah, 12 hit me hard just because it's like I the character designer for
Yeah.
uh, Akihiko Yoshida, like I was already drawn to his work by the stuff he did for Final Fantasy Tactics and
Mm. Oh yeah,
I,
that's such a good art style too.
yeah, so I was super excited that he was recruited for Final Fantasy 12, like a mainline chapter in the series. And at the same time, like this was around the time like I was just like so like I guess like Mediterranean sort of cities was like very much a big inspiration point for me around that time.
Okay.
So when they announced it and they were saying like, yeah, like this is like a very Mediterranean flavored setting and all that, I was like, oh, that's so
Hmm.
cool. Like,
Yeah, it's different. That's why I think I gravitate towards it so much because you don't see fantasy imbued with that kind of thing very often. Like usually you think of fantasy, you're thinking of just like Western medieval lens. At least as an American, that's what I think about with fantasy, and that's always going to change depending on where you are. But yeah, even like Japan, they a lot of their anime and stuff, fantasy, it's kind of has like this Western medieval lens, and there are exceptions, of course. But it was just so cool with Final Fantasy 12 to see a different spin on that. You could tell that they were just drawing from different things with the color palette and
mm,
all the patterns of the city. And I also love the way the people look on there too. They
oh
just look
yeah,
so naturalistic.
yeah.
They like yeah, it's just like such a cool, very hand painted with a lot of the people. Um yeah, so cool.
I was watching through some footage of uh, Final Fantasy 12 a couple weeks ago, and yeah, it's like even how they handled like because I think if I'm not mistaken, like the eyes they're not really the eyeball isn't a separate model. I think it's like part of the face mesh.
Okay.
So it's like
That's what it looks like.
yeah,
And I love how it's like the whites in the eye is
it's not white.
toned down.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's not white. And
There's
the people, the shape of their eye is like so much more relaxed, and there's just like such a naturalistic quality
yeah,
to the people there. And then you look at, Uncharted 2 or 3, years later, like a decade later, and they've got like big old marbles in their head, and then like the light is reflecting all wild and stuff. And like those are amazing looking games, but like when you look at like a naturalistic quality to these characters, it was just really impressive in 12. I think Final Fantasy 9 is probably my favorite Final Fantasy though.
oh yeah, yes, 9 is it's funny. It's like 6, 9, 12. It's like actually I think 6 and 9 they share the same director. Um
Oh, okay.
but I feel like 6, 9 and 12 they're kind of like the black sheep of the franchise, you know.
Mm,
Actually maybe just 9 and 12. 6 I guess is kind of in line with
yeah,
like 5 and everything. But yeah,
because
9
9
is
came
another
out like at the end of the PS1, and then 10 came out like a year later. I think I read or something
yeah.
like that, like so soon after. And 10, at the time looked incredible, especially with those pre-rendered cutscenes and stuff like that. And I love the aesthetic of 10 as well. But yeah, 9, it kind of hits different for me.
Yeah, like I think 9 and 12 like cuz there's things about 12 that I'm just kind of like, "Oh, yeah, it's very like, you know, Star Wars prequel-y in some aspects like with their
Mm-hmm.
technology." But I think I really like the character designs and I love that they really embrace having different races in the world. You know, you got the Viera
Mm-hmm.
and the Banga and everything like that. And then, but 9 is just so freaking charming. Like, I think I played 9 from beginning to end for the first time, like maybe 3 years ago or something like that. And
Okay.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
just so fun and like I'm sure I like my eyes welled up during the ending. Like the music is
Mm-hmm.
really great too. Um, but
Yeah, I played 9, and that was actually the game I played after the apartment fire in Brooklyn because I didn't have a computer, I didn't have anything to do, but I had my Switch, and so I was like, I don't have anything to do. I'm just like sitting here waiting for to hear back from people. So I bought, like, I was like I wanted to buy a game that would take me a while, so I bought Final Fantasy 9, and that was Yeah, that was a good move. It was a wild move, but it was great.
Yeah, no, it's like I think like Final Fantasy VII was like really big for me because I think that that was like the first game that I played where it's like I felt like these were like less avatars and more like characters that live within the world and there's an actual
Mm,
story, there's actual stakes, um,
yeah,
and yeah, it's so great to see Square putting so much time and attention and money into just like blowing these games up into these huge games and kind of
yeah.
expanding upon it. Like I you know a little one of the questions for the little spinny thing is
Oh, are you cheating? You're
well,
you're
I'm not gonna
going
tell you which
directly.
number it is, so
Okay,
but
okay.
it's like it's related to Final Fantasy, but it's like so I didn't know how to phrase it properly. What I have written is what would be your last meal? If you were like if you had a death sentence, in prison, all that, and you're about to get executed, you get one last meal, right? Um, but instead of it being a meal, it's a game slash movie slash project you've been yearning for, and you want to experience it before you die. And I've told like a friend of mine that like for me, it's like I want to be able to play the last remake game. Like it's like I want to be able to at least do that. If I knock
Final
on
Fantasy VII remake.
yeah, it's like
Okay,
knock on wood, but if
yeah.
I was to die the day after I finish that game, it's like I'll have felt like okay, that's fine.
Oh, so is this a game that like you haven't played yet and you really want to,
Yeah,
or is it a game that like doesn't exist?
I guess it could be either or. Like for the nature
Okay.
of the question, yeah, like it could. If you were to say like okay, yeah, like if you could um, create a project with Yoshitaka Amano or something like that. Like if that's
Uh-huh.
something that like you're like okay, do that, and then I could die peacefully the day after. Like
Okay, like playing it like you're kind of like a dream game kind of thing.
and it doesn't have to be a game or
Or-
anything like that. It could be
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, games are my favorite medium, so I'll stick with that. Hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, I want to play whatever the new game from what's his name?
Fumito
From
Ueda.
Team What is that his name? The Team Ico
Yeah,
dude?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. How'd you know, man? Yep, you know me. That's play that game. I want to play that game.
Project
Whatever
Robot.
it is. There's only that one. Yeah, there's only that one trailer that came out. Was it last year, like last Game Fest or
Hey, dude.
something like that?
There's another trailer. They showed one yesterday.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I've just been over here talking to you when I
Sorry.
could have been could have been watching that trailer.
It's a good
I was
trailer.
literally just playing Last Guardian music
Oh my
yesterday,
gosh.
and I was sitting at YouTube showing my partner like this is what Shadow Colossus looks like. This is the PS2 version. Okay, now this is the one. And I was like sitting here and she's like, uh-huh. She's like, I think on her phone or something. And I'm showing her. And she thought it was cool, but you know, I think she was just being nice to me. But I was geeking out over this stuff. I was like, oh yeah, and you to kill this Colossus, you gotta shoot the airbag so it gets low and then you jump on
The
it with the
airbag.
horse. And
I know what you're talking about, but it's funny to call
yeah,
it airbag.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just sitting there volunteering information with no cause. So yeah, Team Ico, like that's another thing. It's like I feel like I would be a different person if Fumito Ueda didn't exist, and I would probably not be yeah, just not as good of an artist if I hadn't consumed his work. So yeah, that would be my kind of like ultimate game if I can just see what that's like. And then GTA 6,
GTA 6,
completely on
yeah.
a different and completely on a different spectrum.
Maybe if
But
you play those two games like on the same day, the day, and then you finish
yeah,
them, you were determined to finish them on the same day so that you could die the next day. Maybe something like that,
yeah.
right?
I don't know. I feel like maybe GTA 6 like it's probably going to be awesome and super expensive. I feel like I kind of understand what it's going to be in a lot of ways. But what's the new one? Project Robot?
Yeah, it has
What's
an
that?
actual
That's
name, but
called.
I won't ruin it for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, whatever that game is, I feel like I don't know what that's going to be like. Just the vibe and his history is just so interesting to me.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like, I think it says a lot that that would be sort of, your last meal because, I mean, it just shows that I think kind of going back to what we were talking about a moment ago, it's just like it's not just games. Like these things have kind of like influenced like how we've developed as artists, and now it's kind of
Hmm.
coming back full circle where it's like now we get to take things from these games, learn from it, and extrapolate from it, and feed it into the things that we do so that we
Yeah.
could be more informed artists, and then it kind of goes back and forth. So yeah, like I
Yeah,
think.
media has a like art has a incredible power over people's lives. Like even just non-fans of, games, but just art impacts people's decision making and the way that we picture the future, is has a lot to do with the type of media that we consume, whether that being like movies or books, whatever the creators before kind of like set the roadmap, kind of set our expectations, things to watch out for, and things to strive for. It's like the whole reason I ended up going to Italy and learning art and having all those experiences is because I thought Assassin's Creed 2 was great. It's
Mm.
like, oh man, like Florence and Rome, that sounds cool. Actually, you didn't go to Rome in the second one, but I was like, Italy looks awesome. And then I ended up being there, 3 or 5 years later, studying at those places that I was doing parkour in Assassin's Creed, which is kind of a silly thing to be inspired by. But they did do their research, they did a lot of work and hired talented environment artists to create something that felt immersive. And it really captured my imagination and inspired me to spend $1,000 in real human time to travel there.
Yeah, dude, that was me in Iceland. Like, cause like,
Okay.
Death Stranding, like, really, like, I mean,
Oh yeah.
I
I
was
was
all,
then thinking about, okay, what game would it have been? But yeah, Death
I,
Stranding, that makes sense.
I already had like a strong interest in traveling to Iceland, but then I think it's just like, yeah, Death
Hmm.
Stranding kind of like pushed me off the edge where it was just like, yeah, like I really want to go see these alien landscapes and kind of,
Hmm.
it's not enough for me to see it in a game. I need to be able to see it with my own eyes. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, it's I need to do more traveling because like I want to have more of those experiences where it's just like, being able to just absorb different cultures and, you know,
Yeah.
have it find its way
It's
to canvas like how you've done in your work.
hmm Yeah, that's so important. It's so fun and just it just informs your decision making so much.
Um, let's see. All right. Well, I think we should call it. We're gonna let's do the spinning wheel one more time, and then
Okay.
I'll give you some time to think of if there's anything else that you wanted to talk about. But
Okay.
let's see. All right. So let me know when you want me to click.
Okay. Wait for it now.
I wish I had a real
Yeah,
wheel.
you gotta add a thing where you can stop it at a certain point. So then that determines which one you get. Or that's just entirely not necessary. That's cool too.
I'll look into it. All right.
That's how I know you've been in a corporate office because you're just like, we'll table that for later. We'll take that offline. You have like the perfect
No comment.
dismissive
No comment.
response. Yeah.
All right. Question number 8. All right. Who is one artist you'd recommend to a random person?
Uh, let's see. One artist. Ooh. Hmm. One artist. Uh, you can edit out my thinking. Let's see. I think Kehinde Wiley um,
Candy.
is an artist I would recommend people looking into. He's a painter. He's a traditional artist. He did Obama's portrait,
Oh, okay, okay.
his official presidential portrait. Just beautiful work. I think he takes a lot of black figures and black and brown figures and just paints them in a way that makes you see the just like greatness in everybody. And he does these huge portraits. Some of them, are like 40 feet wide. Like they're just incredible. I don't know about 40 feet. That might be, but they are pretty big. So it's been a while since I've seen him in person. But he does these huge portraits, and they're just like so beautiful, so vivid and colorful. Yeah, I would look up his work. Yeah, talented black artist. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Obama's portrait, it had like flowers or something like that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
So he'll take a lot of characters and or figures, and he'll put a lot of flowers behind him, a lot of interesting patterns. But I like his series that he does where he'll just approach someone on the street, like in New York, and he'll ask him, do you want to be? I'm a artist. Do you want to be a model for one of my things? And then he has these books that he has of just like old master paintings, from the Renaissance and from Byzantium era and from all these different things of like books that are showing art of popes and kings and noblemen and he's like pick a composition that you like and then basically we'll set the stage where you pose like this person and then I'll paint that and it'll be larger than life and in his style. And I think I really appreciate like the sentiment of just like anyone can be royalty, anyone can be lifted up, and just showing kind of challenging what people picture when they think about like nobility.
Mm.
I think that's my takeaway. Yeah, I appreciate that sentiment, and the work is incredible too.
Awesome. Okay. And I think I'll make a note to myself of just kind of including links to all the artists that we brought up in our conversation. So check
Hmm.
the links for Kehinde Wiley, along with Yoshitaka Amano, Tetsuya Nomura, Akihiko Yoshida. Um, I don't know. Feel free to
Yeah, those are good ones. Watch Initial D
initial
or read the
D.
manga.
Okay.
Yeah.
Play Last Guardian, and so that
Yeah.
you know you could understand what we're raving about.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, or Ico or Shadow classes, any of it.
Yeah.
Just
We'll just point them
you'll catch
to
the vibe.
their studio, Gen Design.
Hmm.
All right. Edison, thank you for joining me on the very first episode of the Dodgebrush podcast. And yeah, hope we'll get to do some more recordings sometime in the future. Um, and uh,
Yeah, totally.
and everyone check out Edison's work. He obviously has more than what we're showing here, and I'm sure he'll have more to share in the future too. But yeah,
Yeah, thanks for having me, Robin. This was fun. It's good to just kind of talk about things that we enjoy. So feel
yes,
free to invite me anytime.
awesome. Thanks again. See ya.
Peace.